Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with you. It is April 17th, 2019. This is episode 107 of the big show, and I appreciate everyone tuning in, or those who will start tuning in. A lot of stuff to get to today. I know we've already got some calls lined up. Glad to be with you here. My name is Marc Stevens, of course, as you know. The website, of course, is marcstevens.net. If you want to help support the show, and I do appreciate everyone's support on the show, very much appreciated. So if you want to continue, or you want to start to support the show, you can do that at marcstevens.net, which is my website, and also marcstevens.cells.com. It's in the show notes there. Say hi to Mike and Donnie there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. What we talk about here on the big show, of course, is anarchy, which means no rules, not no rules. And we reject the notion, that the common notion that people called government have a moral right to do what is immoral. And that we believe that the rules of do no harm, live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. I believe that applies to everybody. But there's a certain percentage of the population that gets away with their crimes where the rules just do not apply. I'm going to talk about that a lot. But if you want to join me also, it's anarchy, government abuse, and defending yourself in court. And if you are defending yourself in court, or you think there's something maybe coming up, you want to just more effectively argue and defend yourself and be able to spot bad arguments, then go to marcstevens.net. Government indicted. It's been out for a while now. We have a whole model on how to destroy people's arguments, specifically in court. But it could be, pretty much any argument that somebody's making, any wild claim that somebody's making. You can get government indicted and show what we have in there is court cases and whatnot, and also how all the success that I've had and other people have had prior to that, and with Adventures in Legal Land, have been able to replicate that all over the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and over there in England. And that's what's really important, is if you can replicate the results, which we have done and continue to do. So I got to have a paisan over in New Jersey that got something kicked out this week. Don't have the details, don't have the paperwork. He just sent me an email that day, paisan, I won. So looking forward to being able to get that posted. Maybe he'll call into the show. But I am working on a video. And because I'm spending so much more time out of Arizona, I have even less time to work on a video. But it is regarding this double standard that is very clear, that people call government and the rich, their tool to stay rich is government. It's been like that from, time immemorial. Always been that way. Hopefully it's not always going to be that way, but the rules don't apply to them. And I'm telling you, doing the research on this, wow, it is, you see some of the most vile acts. And one thing I want to point out here, because it would be a full-time job to keep up with the disgraceful acts of, government lawyers called prosecutors. And I'm not, I thought Stephen Myrie was bad and what this guy was doing. And then Mary Kellett up in Maine. But wow, what this guy did, Robert Allen Murray, Kern County Deputy District Attorney, and that is California. What he did, it's amazing, I guess, because the evidence was so overwhelming, and just that he had to admit he did it. It is a perfect example of how the rules absolutely do not apply to government and the rich. Okay? I don't look at this as a race thing. I look at this is what it is. It's class. The upper middle class, the rules do not apply, and their tools, they're useful idiots, like this Robert Allen Murray in Southern California. There's evidence that they get to do almost anything they want. And even if they are caught, even if they are brought to some level of punishment, it is not prison like the little people. See, when you're not in the upper class or one of their minions, okay, you go to prison. You go to prison. Even if you even just go into jail for 6 months because you asked a question. But not when you're Robert Allen Murray, useful idiot for the wealthy. So what he did, he falsified a defendant's confession. Falsified the confession. Here it is. Now, what is troubling here too is that because of what he did, Murray, it enabled a accused child molester to not get convicted. They both belong in prison. As we'll see, nobody did. There was a molestation case against someone named Velasco Palacios. He added 2 lines to the statements that this alleged, the accused child molester had made. And it is Officer Martinez is saying, "You're so guilty, you child molester." Palacios says, "I know, I'm just glad she's not pregnant like her mother." Now, Palacios was dating the mother. And so, what Murray did was give this transcript to Palacios' lawyer, trying to get him to enter a plea deal. And of course, Palacios was adamant. He never said that. I can't, I mean, we hear about these things in Chicago, where they shot a gun over somebody's head in the police department. I believe maybe it wasn't. But the facts are they shot a gun over this guy, a suspect's head, put the gun in his mouth and used that to force a confession. That's bad. That is really bad. But putting false testimony into a court transcript. So, State Bar Court Judge Richard A. Hahn wrote, "Murray's behavior is wholly inappropriate and unbecoming of an experienced prosecutor who is expected to adhere to the highest standards of ethical conduct and to act as a gatekeeper to the fair administration of justice." What, are you kidding me? Are you that blind, or you're just trying to make a joke here? Wholly inappropriate? Not turning the volume down on your phone when you go to court? That's inappropriate. Falsifying a court document? Typically that's referred to as what is the word I'm looking for? Felony! It's a damn felony! He falsified a court record trying to convict somebody. He committed a felony. That's not inappropriate. That's criminal. Oh. So what the attorney did, this Robert Allen Murray, he tried to blow it off in the typical scumbag way, like he's just some douchebag on YouTube. Dude, it was a prank. He said it was a joke on the public defender or the defense counsel. It was a joke. Joke. See, that's what you do. You go on Instagram, you go on Facebook or YouTube, and idiots subscribe by the hundreds of thousands to watch you prank people. And when you get called out on it, dude, it's just a prank. No, you are an a-hole. And you should not have a platform. He said it was a joke. He admitted it, said it was a joke. Falsifies a court document in an effort to coerce a guilty plea. It's a joke. Well, it says the Superior Court did not see it as humorous. Instead, the court found it to be outrageous and conscience shocking, and that it violated Velasco Palacios' constitutional rights. All charges were dropped against him. An alleged child molester because he falsified the record. Superior Court and the State Court of Appeal found that Murray intentionally altered the statement to influence plea negotiations. Talk about coercion. The State Bar Review Department agreed and rejected Murray's explanation. In a November 10th opinion, the State Court Bar Review Department recommended that Murray's discipline be increased to 1 year, up from the judge's earlier recommendation of 30 days. So they're talking about suspending his license. As of this, he was still employed as a district attorney. And the Kern County District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Now this is going to be in the video. I'm not going to be discussing it in quite as much detail as I'm doing here, because it's just one of many, many, many examples of such disgusting prosecutorial misconduct. But this is not just prosecutorial misconduct. This is like Ken Anderson in Texas. There are many, many examples of people going to prison for decades because cops and prosecutors withhold evidence to actually go a step further and falsify evidence. And so Ken White, who's a defense attorney, is quoted here, and this is in the Huffington Post, says, it's hard to explain to clients why the very prosecutor's office, so eager to put them in jail for breaking the law, can do so with impunity themselves. And why are prosecutors getting away with it? Well, to paraphrase Judge Kaczynski before he had to retire and disgrace himself, it's because judges, and it's obvious here, we don't need Kaczynski to say it, because judges allow it. They let it happen. Now, you've got a felony committed. They have the evidence. They're saying it shocks the conscience. Did the judge hold them in contempt? Did they bring criminal charges against Robert Allen Murray? No. No criminal charges. Oh, he lost his license for a year. Oh my gosh. Where's my tissues? I'm crying. I'm dying inside. Poor Robert Murray. What's he gonna do? Yeah, prosecutors are also largely shielded from any liability that might result from their actions thanks to a Supreme Court ruling granting them absolute immunity, which I've talked about here on the show many times. There's no immunity for this Robert Allen Murray criminally. And the people who are his victims can still file claims against Kern County Risk Management. And they even say in the article it's extremely rare for judges, for prosecutors to be held to any kind of accountability whatsoever. Even the suspension of the license, where Miss Kellett up in Maine was a 30-day suspension. Ruined a man's life at 30 days. Ken Anderson puts a man in jail. Michael Morton puts a man in jail knowing he's innocent. 20-something years. Oh, I think he got 10 days in jail. Oh, not prison, jail. Robert Allen Murray, no criminal charges for falsifying a court record in a coercive effort to get a plea agreement. And lets potentially a child molester go. Gone. And just absolutely nauseating. It is a ruling class, and the only way, the main way to get rid of it and to gut it and to not have a privileged class like this is to take away the tool that keeps them in place. That is government. That is the violent, coercive nature of its support. This will absolutely continue. Nothing's done. You can argue, but man, he was a child molester. They have to put him in prison. No argument here. If you have evidence, no matter how heinous the crime may be, if you've got the evidence, lock him up. If after a fair trial it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt, lock them up. Just like this is beyond all doubt. Robert Allen Murray. No criminal consequences, no real consequences for this guy. Because that's what the ruling class does. Robert Allen Murray is a useful idiot, a tool of the ruling class. And if it's not changed, they aren't to where we don't get to where we have a voluntary society where there is no ruling class, where the rules apply to everybody equally. This is just going to continue being just one of thousands of examples of the disgusting legal system in the United States and other places. And if you've got other stories that you're aware of or you've found regarding this, where prosecutors and judges and government types get away with horrible, vicious crimes, let me know. MarcStevens@mail.com, or just send it to my website, post it on in the comments to this video. Let me know. And real quick before, it is money. Because now that they're getting a lot of attention, maybe people should continue asking. And it's not just Vince Neil's fault. He knows he should be in prison. He killed somebody and injured other people driving drunk back in, I think it was 84 or 85. It was the mid-80s. But because he had so much damn money, he was so wealthy, no prison time. And he even says that is the privilege of cash. He may have killed somebody, but he's done a lot of drugs. He may be a violent person, but apparently he knows enough. He sees how things really are, as opposed to the average person who thinks it's just a few bad apples. No. This Robert Allen Murray is the rule. The exception is an honest fairly honest prosecutor. So let's get to these calls. Let's see. We've got Edwin in Georgia. Edwin, welcome back to the big show.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, I've been trying to reach you. I need help with my case. That was pushed to trial. And actually, they have been doing just calendar calls. I keep going to court, and they keep giving me new trial dates. So I am walked up to the prosecutor and then told them that I wanted to exercise my right to a speedy trial. And I was being asked to file in a motion for that. And I've been trying to get in touch with you, but unfortunately, I didn't get with you last Wednesday. You didn't reach me. So I need a motion for speedy trial, which the prosecutor asked me to file in. And I had a word with the prosecutor. He actually asked me what he could do for me, and I told him that I wanted him to dismiss the case immediately if he could do that for me. And he said no, that I'm asking them for something which they can provide. And I asked him what was that, and he said I'm asking for jurisdiction. So he had my file with him, and he opened a case law and was reading to me actually about jurisdiction.
Okay.
So on that case law, the paper, the logo of Georgia was there, which was 1776. So after he finished reading it, then I asked him to excuse me. I pointed at the logo. I said, Georgia existed. Did Georgia exist before this date? He said no. And I was like, so what was this landmark which you call Georgia right now called before this date? She said she don't know, and there was no name right then. I said, so what you are reading now to me never existed before that date? She said yes. I said, so what you are reading to me called law and constitution are written instruments? She said yes. I said, so can you show me exactly how that creates obligation on me right now? And I'm ready to pay the fine and let everyone go home. And she said, actually, I'm enjoying all the privileges of driving on the road, and then there is a contract. So I stopped her right there. I said, did you just say contract? She said, yes. I said, can you show me exactly, does the elements of an authentic contract not involve an offer, a consideration, a freely giving consent? Does all of that not entail an authentic contract? And she sat mute. I said, so all these elements I've named, I want to see the offer. I also want to see where we sat down and we had a meeting of the mind, and then where there was a freely given voluntary consent and a consideration. If you can pull any of those right now, I want to pay this fine 5 times of what it is.
That's quite
a... told me that... oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to start breaking some of this down. One, I wouldn't get so far deep in the woods with this, because, you usually don't have to. Once they, say, look, you're operating under the presumption, if I'm physically in Georgia, that your laws apply. And, well, yeah, of course. And that gives you jurisdiction. All right, well, do you have any proof that, and she even agreed it was a written instrument, which is nice. She's tethered to reality somewhat. Then just ask, so what evidence do you have to show that these written instruments actually apply? And you kind of can avoid all this other stuff. But a better leading question, when she said contract, I think is are you planning on using that? You're planning on arguing that in court? You're going to actually argue contract, and the evidence you're going to use for that is what? You had a real live one there. That's I think the big one too is. And you walked her through that. The big one would be if you're. I wouldn't again. This would be better, more appropriate for discussion outside of court. What evidence of a voluntary agreement are you planning on bringing against me at trial?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then there was a question I asked her, and she said both, but I didn't know. I couldn't articulate a follow-up question. I asked her, when she talked of state, what is she trying to convey? Is she talking of the ground, or she's talking of a political construct? And she said both. But I couldn't think of a follow-up question right after she said that.
Yeah. So this is why, again, for you and people listening, it's easier to just, again, these are good issues. We could discuss them when we have the time, but here we typically don't. It's really easy to cut through all the crap and say, get their position first. You believe because I'm physically in Georgia, your laws apply and give you jurisdiction over it. Okay, great. And the facts you rely on to prove that that's true? Since, and that pretty much ends it. If they start talking about these other things, they're not being responsive. They're avoiding answering the question, so you can bring it right back to them. So how did this actually end?
Yeah, she told me that the discussion was not going anywhere, and that she don't want to partake in any senseless discussion which is not going anywhere. When I asked her those questions of, freely giving voluntary consent and consideration, she was like, well, there's nothing you are going to take for an answer, and I'm not going to engage in a discussion which is not going anywhere, and she walked off.
Wow. So what was she sick? Did she just recently graduate high school, or was she just trying to relive those days? She was
looking really young, though. She was young, and she was looking really young.
But that is a standard thing, and it's that again. This is an unfortunate part of, and it's why we typically don't go so deep into this. Why we keep it very simple and on point at the very foundation of their claim. But that I've heard that 1,000 times. Mark, nothing I say is going to change your mind. I mean, if you actually answer the question instead of just keep opening up another can of worms with by trying to avoid the key issue. Then I said, and I've even said, look, would you accept a non-responsive answer from me? Well, no. Well, then, would you, is it good faith for me to just walk away? Answer, look, treat me like an adult, and I've even said to them, when they make that comment, is that, what have I done to convince you that I'm half retarded? Well, I haven't. Have I been unprofessional to you? Then why don't you treat me with the same courtesy that I'm extending to you, sir, and just answer the question so that we can come to a resolution? Instead of insulting me by saying, well, nothing I say. Oh, Baba Fungal with it. That's just a stupid lawyer move. Nothing I say.
But this happened in the courtroom, and when she said that she stood up and walked out of the courtroom and went to their secret room in the back. Yeah, it was inside the courtroom. But one testimony which I have, Mark, this case which I have was a seatbelt offense and then failure to change address on my driver's license. And since then, this happened August 8th of last year. I've been stopped 6 times. And all the 6 times, I don't actually believe I've been flagged in the system of the county where I live. I've been stopped 6 times, and all the tickets I have been warning. So they probably don't want me anymore in their courthouse.
Well, I don't know about that. But let's, because I got to get to some other calls. If you need some help with a motion for a speedy trial, if you have the template, you can strip most of it out. You change the title to motion to dismiss for denial of speedy trial. It should be 1 page long. All you have to do is give that the speedy trial, states that within 180 days, from the date the complaint is filed, I must be taken to trial. Yeah. Then you put in the date that the complaint was filed and what day it is and how many days have gone, and show that violates due process, and it must be dismissed. Should be a 1-pager.
So I should just take the motion to dismiss and then change it. Is that what you are saying?
Use that as a template because it has the basic framework for a motion in there. So again, in the caption, you're just going to write motion to dismiss for denial of speedy trial, and then lay things out like I said. It's going to be in the video, so that you can just go to this part in the video. I guess it's about 27 minutes in. 26 minutes in, okay. And then you can just write that down. It's fairly simple. It's just time is kind of limited now because we also got somebody in Texas in jail, and the details of that would give anybody a stroke. But that and my going to California every week is limiting. But that should do it for that. That's fair. That's a pretty simple one.
Okay, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And if you have any questions, email me or call the show. I actually can be live on the Saturday show coming up. So, but you can always email any questions.
Yeah, I'm going to email you right immediately. Yeah.
Okay.
I have more questions.
Okay,
man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you're welcome. We got Edwin in Georgia. I tell you, it's tough to stay positive with all the crap that's going on. Speaking of California, the average price of gas in California went up 90 cents a gallon last week. I was stunned when I went back. I could not believe that the average price of gas in Southern California is now at $4.29 to $4.30 a gallon. And it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. It looks like we're going to break all previous records down here in the Southwest. Arizona, Phoenix, it was going up 20 cents a day. So in 2 weeks, it went up more than 60 cents a gallon. So we went from $2.37 and in 2 weeks went to $2.97, and in some places it's $3.05. Yeah, Tom, I know you're probably going to say, well, that's capitalism. That's great. Yeah, well, if market manipulation comes in when you say, stop production, boys, we're raising the rates. That's nothing to champion. Nothing to, okay, so hopefully, all right, Donna, do you have all right, I think we can go. Donna, you with us still?
Yeah.
All right. All right, we got
I'm holding in the way. Don't pay no attention.
That's no problem. So, do you have some good news today?
Oh, I just had some questions, I ordered that script from you,
Yeah.
And a lot of it is stating what's happening in a hearing, where I want things to be ended at the arraignment.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go to the have them force a date on me to come back. So at the arraignment, I've been sitting in the courthouse listening to the commissioner, because that's the lady set up to do mine. is a commissioner. So I'm going to ask you, is a commissioner yay or nay? Or should I just say, nope, I don't want you here in my case. I'd rather have a judge. But
Well,
even though a judge doesn't exist either.
Well, look, they have people that are judges that are part of their judicial branch, and they do have commissioners that are permitted by their laws to hear minor cases. So unless you're in a very serious charge or you're in a serious misdemeanor charge, the commissioner, unless there's some, I don't know if there's a way, with the charges you have, that you can request to have a commission, to have an actual judge instead of just one of the commissioners. I wouldn't think that they would have something like that, but I'm not gonna, again, because I'm fairly certain they don't have that. That at the lower level, these infractions, you're stuck with a commissioner. You can get if you're found guilty, you can get a new trial, and that might be, that usually goes in front of a judge. But not something that I would worry about. If you're interested, the thing is the script, the issues in the script, and what the purpose of the script is not to have you read it line by line when you're in court.
I know, you gotta just pick out certain things out of it, I know.
Well, what you're doing, what you want to know and understand are the basics. What is actually happening? Why are we asking these questions? What's the point of that? What are you trying to get at? So the point of at trial is you're trying to show that the prosecution doesn't have any evidence to support their legal claim of jurisdiction, whether it's personal and subject matter jurisdiction. And so the questions geared towards showing that are going to be pretty much the same as you would at an arraignment. So yeah, we all want to get it dismissed at the arraignment, whether you're an anarchist or not. Everybody wants it thrown out before or at the arraignment. I mean, even if, even Paul Manafort and, people, Roger Stone's, slime balls like that. But you're asking the same basic questions. So when you're at the arraignment, the judge is operating under the presumption that there's evidence of jurisdiction, right?
Well, I already, sent in the stuff, the murder, right? And, the other two that went along with it, but I keep checking the court and the officer still hasn't sent in anything, but just a ticket.
Sure. You can get a hearing set on the demur to kind of try to push things along. You can get in touch with the clerk and you can ask for it to be calendared for a hearing. They have what's called motion day. And, that's just a day of the week that's set aside in trial courts that all they do is address motions. So you can get it calendared for motion day. And that would, it doesn't mean the cop is going to show up. Nobody may show up to, defend against your demur. It might be just you and the judge. But whoever shows up or nobody shows up, all the judge can go by is the file. All he's legally able to go by is what's on the record right now. So
so motion day. I asked to get a motion day.
You asked to get your demur calendared to be heard on motion day. Okay? And you have to, but you still have, and you would need, of course, prepare with a script, you're role playing with a script, and then you can narrow down some of the question. It really comes down to the main issue that you're discussing here is, does the prosecution have sufficient facts pled to set forth an actual public offense? Now, my position is they don't, because they're assuming the most, a critical element, and that is that the laws apply because you're physically in California. They want to focus just on their facts to show the violation. And I don't think that that's sufficient, because a code violation, without evidence the code applies, is not actually setting forth a public offense. Okay. Again, so an example that I use is not having a driver's license on its own sufficient facts to show a public offense of not having the required driver's license, and it's not. There's a whole lot.
No.
Because you have to assume that the code applies, and even if they say, well, assume that's what we do, but that's not sufficient facts according to Section 1004, their own code. an assumption of an essential element is not sufficient. They have to have facts. And I'm not making it up. It's section 1004 of the Penal Code in California for demurs. Anytime prior to an arraignment, you can do a demur. And one of the points is if there are not sufficient facts to set forth a public offense. And that public offense is the violation of the code. And if they're assuming the code applies, that's not sufficient facts.
Yeah, I see.
Now,
so that's what you would recommend that I get the motion, the demur on the calendar for motion day before the arraignment?
It depends. What day is your arraignment?
The 29th.
Well, we're already at the 17th, so, I mean, it's going to get heard on the 29th. So, if I was you and I'm going in there and they ask me if I'm ready to proceed, I would object and say, no, I'm not ready. We're not ready to proceed. There's a demur at play. And the demur is supposed to be heard prior to a plea being done. Now, remember, just like, and I'll have this in the video because hopefully I don't lose my audio and I can post a good video with the graphics, especially with Robert Allen Murray, that's line ball. I want everyone to see his face. Dealing with the demur after the arraignment, if that's what he says, you have to object and say, no, a demur has to be done before the arraignment.
Okay. And that's based on what?
Section 1004.
1004 Penal Code.
Of the California Penal Code.
Yeah. 1004, their own code, yeah.
Right. The California Penal Code sets that forth. So
I just wasn't that specific since I'm talking with you.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got some other calls that, my gosh, we're already 3/4 of the way out. If you have any other questions, give a call back on the Saturday show. I will definitely be live on the Saturday show, even if I will definitely be live on the Saturday show.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate the call. Donna in California. I got to tell you, and for those who may not believe me, you can go online. I can even post a picture. $4.29 a gallon for the gas out there. And someone's saying, well, market manipulation is not capitalism. Yeah, it is. Hell yes, market manipulation is a part of capitalism. It's not something that people like, but it's, hey, I have control of the means of production. I can shut them down and claim that there is a shortage. Capitalism is private ownership of the means of production. And if they want to cut that production to manipulate the price, they can do it. That's capitalism. And something that people have to understand. Some of the worst people ever to walk the face of this earth have been capitalists. That bus that was bombed in Yemen was built by American capitalists. American capitalists. So don't let anyone kid you, these Ayn Rand, people. There's nothing inherently honest about manipulating and being able to manipulate the market. Jamie Dimon? Blankfein? Doing God's work? Destroying the market? Let me tell you, there are people in this world with a lot of money. And if they're investment bankers or they are wealthy real estate people, they absolutely revel when the market tanks. Because the only ones who can buy a foreclosed house with cash are the rich, the real estate, the investors. They love. Every big-time millionaire and billionaire will always say the same stupid line. They love when the market tanks. They live off of misery. Those people who were able to buy foreclosed houses in here where I live in Mesa, in Phoenix area, when the guys who can buy a house in 2011, do you have any idea how many millionaires were more millionaires? How much money was put in the pockets of all these real estate people because they came in and bought in 2009, 2010, and 2011. They bought houses at a depressed price that they can get in there with a $400, $500 mortgage. And since rent never goes down, they get a $500 mortgage and they're renting it for $1,200. I don't want to hear, there's good aspects of capitalism, but there are horrendous aspects of capitalism. And I don't want to hear, well, that's not true capitalism. That is not a valid argument. It's a part of capitalism, and you should be able to take honest, fact-based, logical criticism against something instead of getting all emotional. My gosh, I could do the whole rest of the show just on the cruelty of the real estate market. That's unfettered capitalism. It hurts people. Unfettered capitalism destroyed the market, and then they came in just like with the Depression. They knowingly, voluntarily engineered the damn Depression. You can see they lowered. This is all matter of fact. This is absolute fact. Anyone can prove this with the numbers. They lowered the reserve ratio. Remember, there was a gold and silver reserve. They had reserve ratios on the banks. And through the 20s, it went down and down and down. And they started giving out all these loans, making all this money available. Then what did they start doing late in 1927, 1928? They started raising the reserve ratios. And then they spiked it. So please, unfettered capitalism, capitalists, people who put profits over people are just as bad as government types. I have a family member who used to say they'd slit you like throw for a nickel. And it's not the average punk on the street. He's talking about people like Jamie Dimon, Lloyd Blankfein, Dick Cheney. Ay, these friggin' people. All right, I didn't wait. I don't think I wasted the time, but we'll move on. We'll try to get some more calls. We got Chris in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but something's got to be said. If I'm wrong, somebody call and correct me, or send me a link and show me where I've got my facts wrong.
Yeah.
So
that thing hasn't been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Tom's saying he's
with
surprised.
With the whole gasoline heating oil, they've been trying to catch up, or make it look like they've been trying to catch up, switching back and forth between production.
They have come out, and OPEC and whatnot, they have come out and said they're cutting production. It's not because they are redesigning their equipment. They cut the production because the price went down. Yeah. Look, I was a little boy. Okay. I remember seeing firsthand the lines a mile long for gas in the late 70s because they engineered a false crisis. They engineered a shortage. It was all a lie. So, these things are real. And so Tom not understanding, and I know you're there, we'll see, hopefully we can get to, we don't run out of time because I'm running short on time. I believe in free trade. I don't believe in being a prick and being a scumbag and hurting people. I believe in live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. And if you're going to go ahead and put so much profit ahead of people, you're violating the hurt people. To actually hurt people and not give a damn just because your bank account is swelling, that violates live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. So if you got to make profits over people, right here. That's what I say about that.
Yeah. Non-aggression principle. That's not fully part of the non-aggression principle, but yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well, look, you can, if you have a situation like we have, and you have a small group of other people who can manipulate the market and cause serious damage to people. I'm talking about raising gas prices to such a point you have to choose between medication, which is constantly going up, and food. So you have to think, well, if I don't go to work, I'm going to lose my job. If I lose my job, I can't feed my family. But I can't feed my family if I go to work. And it just takes a megalomaniac, billionaire, millionaire type to say, well, why don't you ride a bike? No one's forcing you to use a car. But here's the thing, too. When you raise the rate of gas to such a level and you double the price of gas, you increase the cost of shipping, which drives up the cost of everything. So even if I can use a damn bike to go to work, I may not be able to afford nearly as much food. And we got to get to business. I'm sure you have something about court to talk about.
Yeah, the second. It didn't turn out too bad. I ended up with only $190 court cost.
Oh.
So, yeah. I mean, the judge sat there and, like, I told him, that he hasn't presented evidence of jurisdiction. I told him I submitted the paperwork and I caught him up like that and everything. And he's like, he actually told me, I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about, what you're asking.
He played stupid?
Yeah. He said right there, man, my phone didn't record it. I had it in my pocket. I had it on record, and I was going through, and I felt it buzzing because I had everything turned down like that. I asked him if it was being recorded. He told me no, but yet there's cameras in the courtroom, and someone was with me and pointed out to my mom that there's microphones too and all that. And I asked him if it's being recorded. No, it's not. And yeah, so he just I'm not sure I understand what you mean. I'm like, hello, personal jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. Like, there's no evidence. He asked prosecution, and the prosecution said, "Oh, that's all I have." Well, the prosecution says that he has everything he needs to keep going, and I'm like, "Are you really?"
You could take his word for it. You see?
No, but I knew like he wasn't going to have it.
No. I mean, the judge is just going to take the prosecutor's word for it instead of being what he's supposed to be, a referee, an independent, impartial decision maker. Well, he said he's got it, so I'll take. You're not supposed to. See, you witnessed firsthand collusion between the prosecutor and the judge.
Correct.
Man. So what could you have gotten for this?
The offer that he told me a while back was $190 fine plus court costs. Plus, they wanted me to pay $100 out of my pocket for a drug assessment and 24 hours community service.
And you walked away instead of that, just a total of $190?
Yeah, for court costs. And I don't even have to pay that. If I don't pay that, it'll go on my credit.
Well,
at least
all
he was
right.
honest about that part.
That's. I mean, he played stupid and threw you probably a pretty decent deal that you could have paid $5,000 or more to an attorney to get you, as good a deal. So that's some pretty good damage control. Great. The playing stupid. Yeah. If I had more time, maybe what you could do is you could call how to deal with the play stupid routine. I don't have the time to get through it, so I'm writing it down so that I can do it on the Saturday show because I want to address that because it's not the most common one we hear, but we do hear it. So I want to make sure that I address that. So hey, that's great. Good on you for sticking up for yourself, defending yourself fairly effectively to get the judge to have no other defense against it but the playing stupid routine. And you got evidence of collusion between the two of them. So good job. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you letting me know.
Do you know about how long that? I mean, he said it's not being recorded, but I want to check and see. So, like, do you know about how long? Because I know if I could have got the dash cam footage, because only 60 days and they deleted it. Because, like, I pointed out, I told the man, I said, listen, they're both lying. You know what I mean? Like, both of the police officers showed up and they both lied.
Gee. That's why they call it test of
I know,
lying.
Like, I had witnesses and all, but like, I put on a good performance on my own and such, and I got what I got. So, I mean,
hey, that's pretty good. Again, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get any disagreement that if you had paid $5,000 to a lawyer, you'd have gotten about the same deal. So
yeah, or even 500.
Or even but hey, find a lawyer that's going to represent you on something like that for $500. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for you to call. So. Hey, I got to get one more call. I appreciate that, but it's just, appreciate the call and send me a reminder on Saturday. Maybe call Saturday. We'll talk more about it.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Chris in North Carolina, and my next caller. gonna agree with me as far as damage control. So Tommy Boy from the Big D, would you agree that was some decent damage control?
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can get.
Hey,
we're never going to win.
That's pretty damn good. Well, some people actually do get judgments. So some people actually get judgments against these cops for what they've done. So I got a couple that I'm gonna put in the video that I'm working on where prosecutors. Well, there was one case, Tom, where the cops withheld exculpatory evidence, and the prosecution alleges they didn't know, and so they try to say, well, hey. If just, they said the prosecution's off the hook for misconduct because the police didn't get it. I said, no. That doesn't work that way because then all the prosecutors have to do to avoid misconduct charges, or losing cases is just tell the cops not to give it to them. So.
Yeah, well, anytime a cop is ever charged, they have to be, the so-called indicted. And that whole system right there, the grand jury indictment, the grand jury system, as lawyers say, will indict a ham sandwich. Because the state, first off, if you go in front of a grand jury, you can't have an attorney. The state has an attorney. The state is bringing the charges. The state is bringing all the evidence, and you can't defend yourself. So if they're going to charge a cop, he works for the state. The state's bringing evidence against one of their own. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's why cops never get charged.
They almost never get charged. And I think the updated quote that you just mentioned, that the grand jury can indict a ham sandwich unless that ham sandwich wears a police uniform.
That's right. Exactly.
Or is the heir to the DuPont fortune and has raped a child.
Yeah. Yeah, or like you mentioned, Vince Neil. Again, I mean, I can't believe the guy only spent 19 days in jail and killed a human being, damaged a bunch of, his own car, obviously, and other people involved, and paid $2.5 million, and bada bing, bada bang, he's free to go.
And what's his name? Bruce Jenner killed somebody, no charges. Matthew Broderick killed somebody, no charges. And even on minor stuff, someone like Paris Hilton, hit and run, no charges. So the list is endless when it comes to the wealthy, but I know that the elite not getting charged. But I know you mentioned you had something about court that you wanted to discuss.
Yeah. So. And there's a comment in there that I'm having a problem. Let's hear from the needy. Actually, I don't have a problem. I watch court shows, and I saw something interesting the other day on Judge Mathis, and it was a brother using with no driver's license, or, any insurance or anything, using his brother's car and constantly, getting parking tickets or being actually pulled over and using his brother's name. And his brother keeps getting all these tickets, and he's, his insurance is going through the roof. And how do you fight something like that?
So
what I mean? You'd have to get in touch with the DMV and go to the courts and correct everything. And it's kind of like Gary's argument, where, I'm one of many Gary Caps, but are you sure this is the Gary Caps you're looking for? Because I wasn't even there.
Hey, those things have happened. Hey, there was a guy convicted of murder in New York who had documentary and photographic evidence he was in Florida at the time of the murder. They still convicted him. How do you clean it up? I think one mess at a time. It's just like when you have, you can have identity theft, and that could cause a serious problem, and you have a lot of cleanup that you got to do. This is another reason, of course, we're stacking on the rest of the pile of reasons why there shouldn't be a ruling class. Why we have to stop accepting that they have a moral right to do the immoral. They're just people.
I just wanted to go ahead.
I was saying they're just people, and so here this is in the scheme of things, considering some of the things I've been talking about, it's more on the minor side. It's really bad that happens. It's a symptom of why the system needs to be destroyed.
Right. But the reason I wanted to bring it up again is because one of the things that's split Gary and I up is that argument we had that one day about when you show up to court and they ask you to identify yourself, okay, yeah, I am one of many Gary Caps. I'm using his name, for instance. But are you sure I'm the Gary Caps you're looking for? And that was really a classic. He wasn't, because it's his brother that was doing all this stuff, not this guy. So he had a good argument there, a good place to use that argument. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I think I would just be very wary about it because, especially in traffic courts, they're used to people coming in to play the name game. And so you got to be careful that you don't get lumped in like they think that that's what you're trying to do.
Right. Yeah, this is a fine line here. And you would think the cop, would say, well, wait a minute, am I that guy? Of course, it was a black guy. So and I don't want to say this sounds racist, but yeah, they all look the same. You know what I mean? But anyway, the cop's going to go, oh, yeah, that was you. That was him. I can see him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I can see a cop. I can see a cop doing that.
Yeah.
It's not us being a racist or it's just, I think a cop, look, I don't think the race even matters. The cop is not going to say, I don't know. Look, he wrote the ticket. They're infallible. They're hometown heroes. They never make mistakes. And even when they do lie, they're legally allowed to do that. So the cop is not going to do it as a racist thing that, a Chinese look or whatever. He's just going to do it. All perps look, you're the guy. I charged you. There's no wrong. I'm the guy. I am the, look, cops are automatically given credibility. Judges have even said, and jurors, if it comes down to your word against the cops, who are they going to take? They're going to take the cops.
Oh, yeah.
And they try to claim, well, he's got no motivation to lie. The hell he doesn't.
Right. Yep.
I don't mean that he has a motivation.
The one winner that I had on your, that you put the whole thing on one of your shows a couple of years back, the cops were claiming that they saw me in the house. And I'm telling you, there's not one window in my houses, anywhere I live, that don't have complete shades that you cannot look into. So there was no way he could see me. And oh yeah, he was adamant about it. Oh yeah, we saw him in the kitchen. No, you didn't. But anyway, enough of that.
There was
I know it's time. Yeah, gotta go.
Yeah, I'll let you go, and I'll say this, in summary. But I appreciate the call. One day maybe Saturday we could talk more about your love for capitalism.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll talk to you then. I appreciate the call, Tom, in the Big D. There was, I think it was in Chicago, and I'll get this in the show notes when I know exactly where it was. It was a fairly recent case where I thought up to upwards of maybe 5 police officers all went on the stand and gave the same story. And then the defense counsel came out with a video that contradicted it. Were all 5 cops prosecuted? No. Not to my recollection. But I will research it and I'll look at it. But I have seen an awful lot of these cases that will all be in the video and an article. Might be the longest article I've ever written that goes with this video. Because I want it to be documented. I want it to be easy for people to see. And they don't have to do all the work that I have. And maybe some others that can, help me out. Because it's a hell of a burden to get all this stuff. There are just so many examples of this. Where the wealthy, the elite, so-called, are able to get away with these crimes. Was George Bush, for one, was he prosecuted for war crimes and torture? He was in charge. Just like they said in that Disney, first rule of management, everything is your fault. So Gina Haspel, who now heads the CIA, was promoted, oversaw the torture program, had trouble saying that torture was immoral. These are vicious, vile people. And because they're rich, because they're tools of the rich, the rules don't apply. And it's going to keep happening as long as we accept a ruling class. As long as enough people accept having a ruling class, this will keep happening. Because Vince Neil, he didn't kill a member of the Kennedy family. He killed a minor celebrity, minor. Razzle. Who even knows his full name? Who even remembers the band that he was in? Actually, it was Hanoi Rocks. They were one of them hair bands from Finland. Well, a lot of them were hair bands in the mid-'80s. That was so great about Iron Maiden, Metallica, Motorhead, and Megadeth keeping it real. But who remembers him? Because he wasn't a big star. He wasn't at the level of a Vince Neil. Now, if Vince Neil had killed Bob Dylan, maybe he would still be sitting in prison where he belongs. Maybe if he had killed a Lloyd Blankfein and cut off his, working for God. Lloyd Blankfein couldn't do his work for God anymore. Then Neil would have gone to prison. Yeah. So, appreciate everyone tuning in to the show today. It was episode 107. Probably going to get the good video and graphics because I got a lot of graphics I want to put in here. Because, when you've got these pieces of filth like Robert Allen Murray, California prosecutor, got away. This vile piece of excrement. This lawyer, this prosecutor, doing what prosecutors do because we know that prosecutorial misconduct is at epidemic levels. And yes, Kaczynski gave supporting court cases to prove it. Got away with falsifying a court record. Falsified a transcript. Don't tell me that there's not a privileged ruling class because there's too much evidence against you. And don't tell me it can be reformed because the evidence is dead set against you. You have no proof that this can be reformed. Zero. Anyway, I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you want to help support the show at markstevens.net and markstevens.cells.com. I will be live on that there Saturday broadcast. So whoever I may have missed today, tune in there. And, till then, salud.